In a tense interrogation room, the weight of the situation became painfully clear. The detective leaned in, his voice steady yet ominous, delivering the grim news to Jacoya Collins. It was a chilling moment, as he stated the harsh reality. She was likely facing a murder charge. The gravity of the circumstances hung heavily in the air. Cortez McChain, Jacoya's boyfriend, had been discovered brutally stabbed, his life extinguished in a pool of blood. The police, piecing together the evidence, turned to Jacoya's Facebook activity, suspecting her involvement in the horrific act. As the investigation unfolded, the detective prepared to delve deeper, promising to revisit her social media as the interview progressed. The question loomed: how would Jacoya account for Cortez's tragic death? As the police interview concluded, Jacoya's parents entered the room. In that instant, her composure shattered. Panic washed over her and emotions erupted. The tension was palpable. Observers were urged not to miss this pivotal moment. The detective probed further, asking Jacoya to define her relationship with Cortez. In her response, Jacoya described their bond, claiming it was strong. "He's my best friend," she insisted. But when pressed about love, a note of hesitation crept into her voice. No, not for real," she replied. Although they argued frequently, she claimed they never fought physically. Jacoya attempted to downplay their disputes, framing them as mere disagreements. The detective paused the conversation, emphasizing the importance of honesty. This was a critical juncture, a chance for Jacoya to present her truth. The detective made it clear. They were about to discuss the events of that fateful day, and this was her opportunity to be completely transparent. No matter what had transpired, she was urged to share her side of the story. He pointed to a camera situated in the manager's office, its lens capturing every detail of the intersection outside. This evidence would be invaluable, and the detective warned Jacoya that if any discrepancies arose from the footage, it would complicate matters significantly. He continued, urging her to come clean before the footage was reviewed. "If there's something on it that you haven't disclosed, then there will be a problem," he cautioned, reiterating the importance of this moment. "At 24 years old, you are an adult," he said, his tone firm. "You know how things work. We are here to give you the chance to tell your side." "You're saying there weren't any arguments or anything today, correct?" he pressed, seeking clarity amidst the tension. At just 24 years old, Jacoya Collins stood at the crossroads of adulthood. She was well aware of how life unfolded, having navigated its complexities for years. The detective's purpose for being there was clear: to afford Jacoya the chance to share her narrative. She was asked directly if there had been any arguments that day, a question that hung heavy in the air. The detective revealed a stark truth. Neighbors recounted a different story. They lived on either side of Jacoya, and their accounts painted a picture of frequent arguments and escalating tension within the household. Jacoya admitted to the discord, acknowledging their quarrels. Yet she firmly insisted that the day in question had been devoid of any arguments, despite the contradicting assertions from those around her. Loud voices were commonplace in their home, Jacoya explained. While they sometimes shouted, she maintained that there had been no physical confrontations that day, though she acknowledged the perception of conflict. The detective pressed further, hinting at a darker undercurrent. Had there been instances of violence? Jacoya's response was cautious. She conceded that there had been one prior incident, but denied any ongoing issues. The atmosphere was charged, filled with loud yelling and curses. What could have led to such chaos? It seemed unnecessary, a whirlwind of assumptions. Cortez was running around, convinced that Jacoya was also on the move. Had he laid hands on her today? In a defensive tone, Jacoya insisted that nothing of the sort occurred. The day's arguments, she claimed, were nothing more than mutual yelling. It wasn't serious, she asserted, trying to downplay the events that had transpired. The officers pressed her, asking if they had been yelling just before Cortez left for Circle K. Jacoya denied it vehemently, insisting that they hadn't been arguing before everything unfolded. Her denial hung in the air, filled with tension. She maintained that all was well, claiming she had only just returned home. Yet the question lingered. Had there been an argument before the chaos began? The detectives sought clarity. "So, you did not stab him?" they asked, trying to piece together the fragmented narrative. Jacoya's response was clear, but the weight of the situation loomed heavily. They needed to understand what had truly occurred. Someone had clearly stabbed Cortez, and the detectives were determined to uncover that individual. They probed into the nature of the relationship, questioning if Cortez suspected Jacoya of infidelity and whether violence had been a part of their interactions. Had he been physical with her? Perhaps she had acted in self-defense, they wondered. The detectives pressed further. They needed to understand the dynamics of their relationship, the battles fought behind closed doors. In an attempt to gather more context, they asked about Cortez's employment. Yes, Jacoya revealed, he worked at Warranty Utility. What was his role there? He laid pipes, she explained, a mundane task that belied the tumult of their home life. The detectives shifted focus, inquiring about Jacoya's social media presence. Did she have a Facebook page? Were there any recent posts? They needed to gather every detail, every piece of evidence that might illuminate the events of that night. Earlier that evening, she confirmed she had made some posts while at her mother's house, but they pressed her further. What about posts made later in the evening? Did she share anything around 11 o'clock? Jacoya hesitated, admitting she couldn't recall any posts from 11:19. But the detectives had evidence suggesting otherwise, posts that had vanished without a trace. Those posts were deleted, raising more questions than answers. The detectives possessed copies of the content, and they were determined to uncover the truth. Had Jacoya posted anything around 11? Yes, she finally admitted, her reluctance evident.